we are Codec. What we are famous for are building transformative digital solutions. I just want to talk briefly about the agenda for today. So I have with me on the call G Lau, who will be presenting a session on using Dynamics 365 as a unified solution for grant management and customer engagement. Okay, so two links there, please. Please go ahead and connect with us if you're not already connected on LinkedIn, and we'll take it from there. Okay. My background is, my name is Brian Island. I'm the practice lead here in Belfast for the Dynamics 365 practice. I have a background in Dynamics CRM, and obviously more recently Dynamics 365 as it has been called. I'll let G go into the details about what Dynamics, the use case of Dynamics 365. But in terms of Codec as a company, I suppose one of the things that we are focused on is the enterprise IT landscape, and this is a slide that we normally show to our customers about that I suppose we try to scare them. Okay, so enterprises are entering the third era of IT. What is the third era of IT? So the first era is probably where we're sitting in silos, and IT is a different part of the business. The second piece is about digital transformation, and I suppose more recently the third era of IT is probably being accelerated with the whole COVID thing, where it's integral to the business landscape. Okay, and these are some of the things that are applicable to organizations who are looking for this digital transformation. Okay, so what do we think we can give people? We can give you a dependable partner. We can give you this one throat to choke. So if you're looking to consolidate vendors or to look at the management skills expected of the Big Four, I suppose this is the type of organization we are. We learn. We want to learn things. We have staff who learn things in their own time. I used to work for a Big Four company, and I suppose I used to say I used to sort of wear that as a badge, but I don't do that anymore because I think from Codec's perspective, we have much more agility than the likes of a Big Four organization will have. Okay, so what's our background? We were established in 1985, and we have the benefit of all these years of experience. Okay, and we've won a lot of awards in the period between then and now. Okay, and just to put that into a little bit of context, in 1985, that was when Windows 1 was available. Okay, and we've come a long way since then. Okay, so we've 35 years of industry know-how, and we do this with a lot of businesses across a lot of different sectors, both public and private sector. Okay, what are we about in terms of a culture? We want to know more, do more. We want to challenge, grow, and enjoy, and we want to work on the most exciting project. And I suppose what our background is we have. This is a slide that shows all the partner accreditations we have. Often you will see other Microsoft partners who go out there and say we are a Microsoft partner. In fact, there's no such thing as a Microsoft partner anymore. You have to be certified in a particular competency. So these are all the different competencies that we have. We were just reaccredited for ISO 27001 last week. Okay. So if you're looking to consolidate vendors, I suppose we're looking at the different areas of business application and technology, and these are the sorts of areas that we have. So obviously we have a lot of different sessions going on today. This one's focused on Dynamics 365. We have a lot of others going on with Power Apps and Power BI, but I suppose we're not a one-trick pony. We can do it all. Okay, and I suppose a lot of organizations have a problem working with a lot of different types of vendors. So they're not integrated. There's many versions of the truth, and things are inefficient and slow and expensive. Okay, so we can give you that consolidation. We can give you a single version of the truth a blended solution with clear problem ownership. And I suppose we talk about full stack and full suite. Okay, so we have Dynamics 365 customer engagement, which is our session today. We also have financial services, cloud productivity, and Power Platform on which Dynamics 365 is built. Okay. As well as that, we have down on the right here, we have business analysis and quality assurance. And I suppose, you know, we're not just about the tech. We have the management skills that are expected of a Big Four. Okay. And we have different methodologies and delivery models that are associated with our project management office. Okay, so all the sort of standard project management disciplines with our own take on it as well, specifically, I suppose in this case, and related to Dynamics 365. But we also have security management. So I suppose in terms of sort of a Maslow's hierarchy of needs, in terms of the IT landscape, we have, you know, the cornerstone of any IT organization should be the security. Okay, so we have a dedicated sort of Microsoft expertise in that sector as well. Okay, again, not only the tech, we have business analysts who are adept at elicitation and documenting and translating these requirements into analytical terms or into terms that we can translate into technology terms. And as well as that, we have, I suppose, these softer sides of skills. Okay, so one of the big things that we're currently focused on is user adoption, and in terms of, you know, technology, in terms of the difference between Dynamics 365 being implemented and being adopted, is, you know, we often see in other organizations that Dynamics 365 is implemented, but it's effectively vaporware and shelfware. So we have a big focus on the user adoption piece of that to make sure people actually use it. Okay. We have a dedicated QA team, and we have a dedicated innovation lab as well, which is called Codec Labs. Okay, so we build our own accelerators so that we don't have to replicate things and start every project from scratch. Okay, so as an example, here's one of our most recent offerings, which is GDPR for Dynamics 365, where we talk about where we built specific modules within Dynamics 365 that deal with some of these use cases that the core product doesn't deal with. Okay, and these are some of the other tools that we have at our disposal as well. So we've lots of different solutions that we can easily and quickly deploy. For a local NI customer there recently who had an issue with COVID, we integrated. We got an integration with Eventbrite up and running within 2 or 3 days into the production environment because we have these accelerators. Okay, so again, just to recap, dependable IT service partner. If you're looking to consolidate vendors, we are happy to be the throat to choke. Management skills expected of the Big Four, and delivery of innovation with adoption. Okay, so look, that's the sales pitch done, if you like. I suppose what I would like to do now is hand over to G, who is going to focus on probably some of the detail in terms of what you're here for today. Okay, so G, over to you.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. One second. And let me know whenever you can see my screen, okay?
Looks good, G, yeah.
Okay. So thanks very much for everyone's time to attend today's session, which is focused around Dynamics 365, specifically around a unified solution. And in this scenario today, we're going to cover grant management with customer engagement. My name is G. Lau, and I will be the presenter today. I'm a senior functional consultant at Codec in Belfast, and I've been with the company now for around 3 to 4 years. And yeah, it's busy times ahead. So I'm going to kick off here by giving a very quick overview of what we will be covering today. Okay, so I'm going to start off by using some slides and talking about the reason why we would have a unified solution, the different challenges that are faced by organizations today, and also how those challenges translate to our customers. Okay. I'll be talking about then how Codec can help, and then about the unified solution. That will be followed by a demo of Dynamics 365, portals, etc. All right. So why? So the question is why unified? Okay. Traditionally, organizations use separate IT systems for interacting with their customers. So, for example, they'll have a marketing system to send emails, marketing emails. They might use a separate grant management system to support grant applications. They might have a separate solution system to manage their customer information, and another system to do X, another system to do Y. Okay, so when you have that many systems to interact with that, potentially with that same customer, you run into all different types of common problems. Okay, first of all, there is significant challenges around managing that customer information and the integrity of that information. Whenever you are driving those processes and you're sending different types of messages out to the customer, again, that has mixed messages to the customer. So in this slide here, from an impact perspective, you can see here that we have all these different systems and talking to the potentially the same customer. There's a high cost and a high effort to maintain. From a business perspective, there's a high cost and high effort to maintain multiple systems. And again, it comes back down to what Brian mentioned earlier. Different systems could potentially mean different vendors, which means that you get into this traditional blame game of where the problem lies, and there's different costs that are associated to that. Reporting as well becomes very challenging because you're having to extract data from this system, that system, this system, and that system to understand where your business is as of today. Okay, so again, I'm only touching on some of these problems. There is a lot more problems that I could spend talking about today of why we don't want to be using silos or separate systems. So what does this look like in terms of an impact to the customer? Now, first of all, the customer the customer will receive mixed messages. Okay, and I've been working on direct projects with end users where they tell me that the account manager has a different conversation with one of the staff members within our organization, and that is a big red flag in terms of the customer. Okay, that customer is usually led to be very, they become very confused, and so and most times they are dissatisfied, and they can see that the organization is not fully in tune, and that's quite evident. So it is. But from our perspective as well, from a business perspective, when we have multiple systems sending multiple different messages to that customer, it becomes very difficult to understand that customer's needs. Okay, and when you don't understand the customer needs, you're not going to be able to get right through them and deliver exactly what they're looking for. So this slide here is basically jumping from one stepping stone to another, i.e. bridging the gap. All right. So at Codec, we've helped different customers to bridge that gap between the customer side and the technology side. And when I say about technology side, it's about in-depth understanding to their entire business and their entire systems holistically, and then understanding the different touch points that the organization, I like to refer to things as our solution, because, you know, from my perspective, we get into almost like a strategic partnership with our customers. So we really do get in deep and dirty into understanding our customers' needs and understanding the different touch points they have across their customers. We can bridge that gap as well, because we will seek, you know, early buy-in from the senior leadership team to help drive technology in that business. You will be fully aware that, you know, there'll be different users who will be very precious about their own silo systems, okay? Because that system could be built specifically for their needs. So we will work with, you know, the senior leadership team to obviously drive the message to the senior leadership team, and then for them to work in conjunction with us to drive that message to their end users, so the entire organization is on board before we start, you know, implementation and getting everyone on the same page, and then obviously driving that unified solution out. And that's not it. So I mentioned there from the senior leadership team, but that flows right down to the end users. You know, from a change management perspective at Codec, we drive that change management right down from the senior leadership team to the end users who directly interact with the customers. We want to hear exactly what, you know, what their challenges are, what their pain points are as well, because those guys are the people who are using the systems and obviously interacting with the customer directly. So whenever we go out and implement a unified solution with our customers, it's paramount that, you know, we put our customer, okay, we put our customer, i.e. your customer, in the center of the entire conversation. Your customer becomes the entire focal point right from the beginning. And moving away from silos and having a single view of the customer absolutely requires us and you to become customer centric. And what does single view mean? It just really means that, you know, it's the one customer shared across the entire organization, across all the different business units, touch points, etc. And that ultimately allows us to make smarter and better decisions. So Microsoft Dynamics 365 is basically is best known for CRM, customer relationship management, but Dynamics 365 is now basically CRM merged with a bit of ERP. Okay, fast forward today, Dynamics 365 has become a very powerful tool for sales, servicing, marketing, etc. And that Dynamics 365 has really rich and inbuilt insights that is presented to the end users that allows us to understand behaviors. Dynamics 365 has all the native Office 365 functionality in terms of the logins and etc. And a bit more around the underlying technology is that it's built on top of the Power Platform, which is basically a combination of very rich tools, you know, Power Automate. There's obviously Power Apps and also Power BI, all combined underneath the hood in Dynamics 365.
And I suppose, G, in terms of the like the Microsoft lingo for this at the minute, you know, Dynamics 365 is now what we call a first-party application. So, i.e., you know, Microsoft are touting the Power Platform as the platform to build your applications on, and Dynamics 365 for sales is a first-party application on that. Dynamics 365 for marketing is a first-party application on that, and they're all licensed independently of each other.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Brian. So, you know, there's all different reasons why Dynamics 365, you know, is a very good product, very well known for what it does in the marketplace. But here's the top 5 reasons why I personally think that it's a very top end product. First of all, you can really develop smart processes to replace, you know, your manual tasks that your end users are doing at the minute. using the Power Platform solutions, and it's very easy and very quick to do that. Extensibility, okay. Point number 2 is extensibility. We can configure Dynamics 365, you can configure new process solutions much quicker than your traditional implementation. And that's because the technology is built, upon the capability to deliver solutions with low code / no code capabilities. Okay, so it's literally some functions that we can develop using drag and drop, and that in turn reduces development time, which obviously reduces costs for our customer and also reduces testing time as well. Now, point number 3 is accessibility. Okay, accessibility. Dynamics 365 apps and mobile's Power Apps are used to handle specific processes, and they will allow people to become more empowered and more productive. And all this technology is available both obviously at desktop, but also on mobile and tablets. Point number 4 is around a unified data source. Okay, unified data source. What does that mean? Dynamics 365 integrates with other applications and cloud services and external data sources. For example, talked about Dynamics 365 being in the center, and then all these additional modules and applications. Marketing, for example, sales, service, grant management is effectively another application that's plugged in to that entire data source. And then point number 5, I think this is probably one of the key ones, is that, Dynamics 365 Online, Microsoft have invested a lot of resources and a lot of money into this product. They have weekly releases to enhance and also to make bug fixes to their existing applications. But there's also 2 major releases that happens every year. And basically, from a customer perspective, an end customer perspective, you're benefiting from the latest technologies and latest functionality that Microsoft basically provide as an update to the customers. So that's my top 5 reasons. So on this here slide, I want to basically talk about the old way and then the new way of how businesses have moved from using silos on the left-hand side, using silos, talking to the same customer. Okay, you're potentially integrating one system to another system and then sending that message to the customer. And again, we've talked about the different challenges that has. Okay, the new way of doing this now is, and there's much more demand for this type of this drive now, is there's one solution with multiple applications around it. And particularly, I'm going to focus particularly around change management here as well. From a change management perspective, your end users will have one system that looks and feels the same no matter what application they're using. The look and the feel will be exactly the same because it's built in the same, using the same technologies. And then that also drives the ease of training users and also user adoption. Okay, but holistically, that one system, one single view of the customer becomes more powerful, and we understand our customer and communicate to our customer in the appropriate ways. So grant management, along with Dynamics 365, is a solution that we've actually rolled out for a lot of different customers in both the UK, Northern Ireland, and also across the Southern Ireland as well. This grant management solution that we have implemented on many occasions, basically there's a portal, there's a very rich functionality portal that we enable that sits as a gateway between our applicants, who will be basically filling in the grant applications and interacting with us. They will use a portal that will interact with the Dynamics 365, and it basically sits on top. This portal sits on top of Dynamics. Okay, so the portal itself is actually designed around self-service. Okay, so not only can that applicant complete grant management applications. They can also manage their own personal details. Traditionally, with the organizations, we would be telling customers to keep us up to date with their latest, with their latest details, email addresses, etc. The self-service portal actually flips the responsibility over to the customer to maintain their details by themselves. Okay. So this portal that sits on top of Dynamics will be used to complete grant management applications. Okay. And it will also be a gateway for the customer to receive updates on their applications. Like, for example, what status is my application at? Is it submitted? Has it been reviewed? Is it been completed? Okay. And this, and also, by having that gateway, it allows us to interact directly with our customers. And we've built solutions there whereby, we can use the portal not only to complete the application, but also to follow up with the application as well. For example, we need more details or we need additional information, documents, for example, and we use that portal as a gateway. All right. The portal can be designed and developed to meet your business needs.
And I suppose, Jay, it's worthwhile indicating, and I know there's some people on the call who probably have experience of the old ADX Studio portals and the old on-premise mechanism. I suppose what we're talking about here specifically is Dynamics 365 as a cloud-hosted service with the software as a service version of the portals, which is now called Power Apps portals, that has a history that I suppose Microsoft bought ADX Studio and sort of have been adding features to this portal ever since. So this is the sort of foundation on which this process is built.
That's
okay,
right.
Sorry.
Thank you, Brian. So in today's example, in the demo that I'm going to be showing you, this is going to be the typical grant management process that I'm going to walk you through today. You can see that in the light green circle, that's basically our applicant, and then the blue circle is basically the staff officer. And we're going to see how that interacts from a applicant perspective, but then also from an end user perspective. Okay, so step one, we're going to be the applicant will register to the portal. Step two is where the staff officer will approve that registration. Step three is the applicant will submit their application. Step four is the back office will approve the application. They will send a letter of offer. And then the applicant, step six, will accept the letter of offer. And then step seven is we have specific objectives set to that applicant to make sure that, if we're giving you funding, we want you to basically meet certain objectives. And once those objectives are met, the staff officer, stage number 8, will start paying out the grant amounts. Okay, so this is just one example of a grant management process that I've picked today. Okay, just bear in mind that this process can be tailored and built around your specific needs. Okay, we can add additional functionality or additional steps to this process. We can also reduce the number of steps in this process as well. It is a very configurable platform. Okay, so this is just my example that I'll be talking through today. So lastly, just around the single view, we talked about grant management as a process that sits on top of our customer engagement activities. Okay, that will build the rich and related that will allow us to see our customer and have that really rich information held about our customer from the same system. It will also allow us to understand their buying behaviors at a very holistic level, and then we can manage those touch points in one place. And I'll be showing you today what an example of a single view looks like, not just including grant management, but also events that applicant has attended to, and whatever else interactions we've had with that customer. I'll show you what that looks like in a second as well. So kicking off now with the demo, I'm just going to stop sharing this now, and I'm going to share a different screen. So let me know whenever you can see my screen, okay? Let me know whenever you can see my screen. It should be a web page, for example, as you said, funding portal.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So this is this is an example of a Dynamics 365 portal, okay, that we can that we have configured for today's demo. Okay, there's obviously the styling capabilities here that we can brand the portal to meet your business needs. We can change the fonts, the colors, the look and feel to a certain point, obviously to meet your business needs as well. Okay, so this is what a portal could look like. All right, and this is what it looks like for today's demo. So it has a home page, and then we have different tabs here as well. So in this second tab here, we have a list of the different funding types that are available for our applicants. So coronavirus job retention scheme is a funding type. The bounce back fund, COVID-19 small business grant, and then also a hospitality, tourism, and retail grant as well. So this is a page that basically allows our customer to pick what grant they would like to apply for. Okay, we have obviously other tabs as well around, here's the eligibility criteria, about us, registration, and sign in. Okay, so before we can actually start this application, we actually have to register on the portal. Okay, so this is a typical page here for signing in and to prevent users from preventing unauthenticated users from applying for your applications. I've introduced this page, this custom registration page, to basically allow our organization to capture the applicant's details and for them to register, okay, to submit a registration. The reason why we want them to register to the portal is because we want to create a profile for them, and then obviously monitor and manage that profile across the business as a whole. And we can obviously have a tracking history against that applicant in the future. So this is a typical form that I can fill out here very quickly. Okay, so it asks you for your contact details, your first name, last name, email address, telephone number, street 1, street 2, city. Okay, so street 1, I'm going to pick 23 Lisniski and Portadown, and you can pick your county. Okay, and then your postcode as well. And then your organization details. So I can fill in here 85 Victoria. That's in Belfast. And the postcode there is RPB. And then we can also introduce these widgets, okay, basically captions that allows us to verify that people who are registering onto the portal are actually authentic. Okay, so once this form is filled in, there's a process now, and there's an email that's being sent to the back office staff to review that registration request and then to create them as a portal user. Okay, so the applicant is interested in one of the funding schemes, so they've decided to register, and then there's an email notification that gets sent to the back office staff. Okay, the back office staff can go in and they can see a list of portal sign up requests, and here's the one that we just created earlier. And this request here basically surfaces that information immediately. Okay, so this portal is talking to Dynamics immediately, and we can see that this is the information they've submitted. We can do two things here. We can basically verify that this applicant here is a genuine contact. So in this page here, what we have here is two lookup fields. It allows us to create a new contact or allows us to associate this request to an existing account and contact. Okay, so the account already exists. and then the contact. Let's see. Nope, so John doesn't exist. So basically we can create John as a new contact here. Okay. And there's obviously the scan business card functionality as well. So you can fill out all this information about the customer, and then you can create them as a new contact essentially, all right, in the system. So I'm not going to spend time going through all the different fields here, but once your portal sign up request is completed by the office staff, there's a process to send an invitation and to create an invitation record that will be emailed to the customer, and the customer will effectively receive an email with a link that will, once they click on it, it will bring them onto the portal. Okay, now I'm not going to demonstrate that today in terms of sending an email with the invitation. I'm just going to show you what will happen. Okay, so once they get their invitation key, it will be pre-populated here whenever they click the link, and they will click register, and that's them basically registered. Okay, now I'm going to use an existing profile that I've created. The username is GLI, and I've got my password in here, so I'm just going to sign in. Okay, and now that I have signed in, I can now successfully apply for one of these funding programs. Okay, so I'm going to pick this coronavirus job retention scheme. Okay. All right, so this is the coronavirus job retention scheme application form. It already knows that the applicant is GLI, and it has GLI's information and the business details here as well. So we don't need the applicant to fill that in twice. Okay, so we have some example or sample questions here of what an application form could request. Okay, so your business age, how long have you been trading business? New business, 1 to 4 years. Are you based in Northern Ireland? Yes. Have you received any other funding? No. What is the business annual income? I'm going to say 500,000. And do you have a UK bank account? Yes or no. These, again, I'll stress, is just example questions. We can build whatever questions to meet your business needs, and the form to be as more complex or more simplified were required. Okay, so this is the funding program that we're going to apply for, coronavirus job retention scheme, and then we can enter in the amount that we would like to apply for. Okay, so I'm going to say 100,000, and over here, we can attach any supporting documentation or any other relevant information that's needed. Okay, so you might to apply for a grant, you might have to actually upload some kind of document or some kind of file. I'm just going to upload here in this example a QR code image, but it could be, for example, your income statements or whatever that might be. You can tailor that to meet your needs. I'm going to save this application, okay? Because this application here could be the user mightn't be able to complete all this information at one time, and they might need input from other users. So there is a capability to save your application and come back and revisit that application at a later time. Okay, so once you save that application, it moves into this application history. Okay, it's currently in draft, and we can see that application 0085 request amount 100 grand is currently in draft. Okay, you go and you need to find out the additional information. You come back and you've got that information now. You can sign in and you can access that application again. Okay, if this application had multiple pages, it would bring you back to that last page as well, where the applicant is left off. So whenever I scroll down here, actually our turnover isn't 5 million, it's actually 500,000. Okay, so now that I've went and spoke to my different managers, I'll fill that in, and then now I can successfully submit my application. Okay, So this is a very, very straightforward application form that we are demonstrating today. Okay. Again, it could be absolutely tailored to your business needs. Once you submit that application, okay, an email will be sent to the backend officer to know them that you've got another application has been submitted. From an applicant perspective, they have this page that allows them to see all the submitted applications that they have applied for. Okay. So in this example, we can see there's a coronavirus job retention application, a bounce back application, a small business grant application, and the different amounts. But more importantly, what status those applications are at. Okay. Traditionally, organizations find it very challenging and find it very difficult to provide updates to their applicants in terms of where their applications are at. So by putting this information on the portal and by sending notifications to the customer allows them to basically find out statuses and allow them to become more informed across that process. So that's basically a submission of an application form on the portal. There's also this self-service functionality that's available on the portal as well, as I talked about earlier, whereby you can go into your profile and it will allow you to do certain things, certain actions, and you can actually change your image if you really wanted to, but you can change your password and you can manage your personal details here as well. Okay, and you can update how your preferences, and that self-service piece allows the customer to be responsible of their own data effectively. So now that application has been submitted, if I go back to Dynamics again, there's an email that gets sent to the back office team to notify them that a new submission has came in. Okay, so this is Dynamics 365. Okay, and maybe I should have mentioned that earlier, but Dynamics 365, this is what it looks like in the back end. And what we have here, a different range of model-driven apps. And these model-driven apps is basically, different applications or different modules that is within the same system. Okay, so if a back-end user whose team and department is focused around grant management, they can select the grant app. If another team is specifically the marketing team, for example, are using Dynamics, but they're only interested in the marketing functionality, they can pick the like this click dimensions email marketing tool, and we can have more apps and more apps and more apps, sales, service, etc. And those apps are relevant to different users only. Okay, so in a summary, you have different apps inside Dynamics, and different teams can pick whatever app is relevant to them. And obviously, once you pick that app, the sitemap, okay, the navigation pane and the sitemap is tailored around that particular application. So you won't see marketing, buttons here if you're logged in as a grant application user. All right, but the bottom line is it's the same customer across the entire organization that you're interacting with.
Yeah. And Jay, look, I suppose one of the new features that is recently, I think it was it's just gone out of preview and then it's gone fully GA now, which is obviously this app here, which is for your staff internally to be able to use and manage their records. This is termed a unified interface because we only design it once and it should work on all tablets, all form factors. There is a Power App now. These unified model-driven apps now seamlessly display within the Power Apps app. So if you have a mobile user who needs to manage grant applications or approve grant applications or perform some other sort of workflow, this app can be surfaced from within the app on your phone or tablet as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you, Brian. So this is the back end Dynamics 365. Okay, and yeah, you can see that I've clicked on applications here, and this is a list of all the applications that have been submitted through the portal. Okay, so I'm going to focus on 0085, which is basically the application that was just submitted. Okay, and this here is the backend model-driven app, which is the unified interface form that Brian just mentioned. Again, the look and the feel of this form is consistent across mobile, tablets, and also on desktop, which is what I'm using at the minute. This here, just to point out on this form, we have some header information, okay, which is basically static, and it remains on the header no matter what tab I'm going through. Okay, and this here tab contains important information like the application ID, the funding program, the status, and who the owner is as well. Okay, over here, down below here, we have what we call a business process flow, BPF. Okay, and this business process flow is designed to guide users, okay, back-end users, through a very organized and a very structured process. So, for example, you know at these certain stages, okay, you can't actually move to the next stage until specific information is captured at that stage. So we can't actually move from approval to offer until we have entered in who the application has been approved by. And by introducing business process flows into the end users, it allows them to be more consistent in how they actually validate applications and how they move applications from start to finish. It's more consistent and more holistic across the organization. Okay, so that's just this is the business process flow that I just mentioned, and you'll see us going through that in a second. So this is the applicant details that was submitted. So GLI was the applicant, and once we pick GLI, we've got this quick view form that surfaces GLI's contact details. We also have Codec UK, which is the name of the organization that GLI works for, and we can surface the information there. So over here, we can basically, these are the information that has been submitted by the applicant, okay? And I suppose from an eligibility perspective, the CRM user is basically verifying to make sure that, yes, they are based in Northern Ireland, and yes, they do have a UK bank account. So that means that they are eligible for this funding, and they have been trading for more than 1 year, okay? You can decide what your eligibility questions are. This is just an example that we've came up with today. So yes, they're based in Northern Ireland, and they've told us what their annual income is. We can move that to the next stage. Okay. So at this stage, you can see I can't progress. All right. So because I can't progress, I need to take action. So it says here about entering in who this application is approved by. So if I click on the tab number 4 here, the applicant has basically requested 100,000. Okay, based on the details and based on their turnover and how long they've been trading, we're only going to give them 50,000. All right, come back next time, we might give you another 50,000. So approved by. Okay, so like any application process, and if you're funding, there's often an approval step that needs to be introduced. This is a very simple approval process whereby we need to specify the name of the approver. Okay, and I'm going to select Brian. Okay, approving for approving this budget. We can all ask him for the money after this call as well. So the assessor, okay, the approver can put in the comments as well if they have any specific comments. All right. So once that has been filled in, you can see that because I populated approved by here, it automatically gets inputted here. Okay. And now that that's been satisfied, we can move that to the next stage. Okay, which is the offer stage. All right. And at this offer stage, then we can make an offer to our applicant, and they can obviously accept that. Okay, so I'm just going to hit save here first, and similar to most offers that go out to applicants or go out to customers, it's often a letter, a system generated letter that needs to go out to the applicant. So in order to generate the information into a letter, we have a functionality here that we can use, and this allows us to basically create templates, okay, in Dynamics, and then fetch information specifically from the application record or the account and contact or whatever information it needs to be. So this template here that we've built is called letter of offer. If I click that, that template is now fetching fields and values from this application form and then sticking that into effectively a Word document. So if I hit open, apologies. Let me just do that again. So that's our letter of offer here, okay? And this letter of offer here, you can have logo, you can absolutely doll this template up, okay? But this is just a very quick and short template here. You can pull in the application reference ID, the account name, the scheme, and how much they originally requested, the date, and you can also pull in whatever information that you need to as well. Okay, and it can have a signature and etc. All right. So once that pulls in all the information into the template, effectively what you would like to do here as well is move the status from submitted to offered. Okay, and the reason why we want to move it from to offered is that once that Word template is generated, that could be automated as well to automatically send that Word letter to it could be Word or it could be PDF, by the way, gets sent over to the applicant, and then they can reply to say that they've accepted that. Okay, but because that is now offered, okay, that also means that our applicant on the portal can obviously they can obviously see that that application has went to offered as well. So you can see that I updated the information immediately, and that was reflective straight away in the portal. Okay. So once that's been offered, that's been and accepted, we can then move that on to the next stage. Okay, which is setting objectives for our applicant. Okay, we're going to support you with 50,000, but in return, we want you to meet certain objectives. Okay, and again, this step here may be applicable to your business or may not. So if it's not applicable to your business, obviously you can leave this piece of functionality out. If it is applicable, or you need this process to do much more things, we can build on top of that as well. So here's a list of some sample objectives that I've already added in this system, and you can select one of those objectives and you can add comments here, and you can mark them as completed or not. Okay, so initially I'll mark them as not completed. Okay, and then you can add another objective here as well. So this here gives you a list of predefined objectives that end users and super users can actually add more objectives to this list, okay, in a configurable and scalable way. So they want to add in another objective, a pre-existing objective, and we can mark that as yes. Okay. So throughout the process, we can set objectives and they can respond to those objectives. And once the objective is all completed, so we have verified that it's actually completed. Let me go back in. We can then move on to the next step. Okay, so we've made you an offer, okay, of 50,000. You've accepted that offer. We're giving you 2 business objectives. We want you to reduce your ongoing business expenses, and we want you to ramp up your productivity. And if you can demonstrate that you've met those objectives, we'll give you the 50 grand. Okay, so they have demonstrated that they have met those 2 objectives. So from a business process flow, we can say, yep, they're fully eligible. Okay, they're fully eligible. And once they're fully eligible, then perhaps you might want a supervisor to assess the entire application once more as best practice to make sure that everything is in compliant. The offer has been accepted formally, the objectives have been met. They can basically mark that as assessed. Okay, and once it's assessed, basically we can go off and start adding in giving payments, basically start creating payments, which I'll do in a second. One thing I forgot to mention there was this supporting documentation. So this here supporting documentation basically is pulling in that QR code, that note that was submitted by the applicant. Any other notes or documents, Excel files, PDFs, Word documents, whatever those documents are, once they're submitted on the portal, they will appear in this grid, okay, against that application, and those can also be stored in SharePoint as well. All right. So, just coming back to the payment then, that has been successfully verified. Okay, so we can actually start creating payment records, and this is just a very simple payment record here that we can create. So we'll give them a first payment of 25k, and we'll do that by bank transfer. Okay. All right. Oh. That should come in there in a second, and I'm going to add another 25k as well. And we'll do this as a check. There we go. Okay, so you've got 2 payment records now of 25,000. That basically meets the amount of 50,000 that we have given them, based on them being eligible, based on the fact that they've met their objectives and they've signed the letter of offer as well. So we can effectively move that from offered. We could have moved it to in progress. We're going to move it as completed now because all documents, etc., has been approved. Okay. So that's basically a very straightforward, simple grant management process that perhaps used to sit outside of, used to sit in its own little system, in a silo system that was being processed by a different team. In this example, we've moved those requirements, those grant management requirements and functionality, and brought those outcomes inside Dynamics. Okay, so effectively Dynamics is delivering those outcomes within the same platform as your marketing team, your sales team, your customer support team, and etc. etc. So that's an example where we've taken that functionality and moved it in Dynamics. And if I then go on and actually look at that account, okay, which is that business. If I click on that business, okay, on this business record, our customer Codec UK, okay, we can see that we have some headline information against this account, okay, this business, who the key account manager is, okay, how many employees are employed in Codec, etc. We have some basic information here, and we have some address information on the left-hand side. We also have maps embedded here, Bing Maps, which shows us where they are on a map. Okay. Now here's the value of bringing in all different functionality into the same system. First of all, any emails that we're going to and from between us and the customer are all being associated here. all those email conversations could be tracked. All those letter of offers that have been sent via email are also in here as well. Okay, so everyone has it start to have a 360 view of this customer. We can see here the different grant applications that this Codec UK business has applied for: coronavirus, job retention, bounce back, etc. I can drill into that, and that will bring me into that specific application record. So I can, okay, and then I could also do certain activities here as well. Over here we have the primary contact, okay, and then below here we have other contacts that belong to Codec UK. This primary contact sits on its own right because it is a primary person, and it's the person who we might have to contact on a very frequent basis. Down here we have events attended. Okay, so if you have a marketing team that runs campaigns and events, and that functionality perhaps used to sit in a separate silo solution, that has, in this example, we've moved those functionality and those requirements into Dynamics, and we've associated the event attendance information against this single view customer. So again, we can see Codec applied for these applications, but we can also see that Codec, attended these events as well. Okay, breakfast meeting, community NI, digital webinar, etc., etc. All right. And then below here we have payments. Okay, so these are payments that we have made to Codec UK. Okay, because we have offered them grants, and we can see all the different payments to date. Now, again, if you have any other functionality, any other business processes, etc., you get effectively what you're going to see here is another tile below here that shows another piece of interaction, for example, cases that Codec has raised, or whatever information that might be. Okay, you will have additional tiles, additional tiles, additional tiles, and additional tiles as you bring on board more applications and more silo functionality in the Dynamics. Okay, so that's basically a walkthrough of the grant management solution that has been unified with Dynamics 365. Okay, and we've given you an example of what this would look like in terms of layering additional modules on. There is two other pieces of functionality that I want to show you today as well, which is number one, this Map It functionality that we have developed, because we have the address details of our applicants, okay, and our organizations. We can actually stick them inside a map and graphically show what that looks like, so it becomes easier to visualize. So if I look at my contacts, which are effectively my applicants, okay, I can basically click Map It, and this will retrieve all my active contacts in Dynamics and basically plot them onto a geographic map within Northern Ireland, okay, because their addresses are within Northern Ireland. So by doing that, you can actually go hover over, and then you can actually drill into that record specifically, okay. And we have another functionality here that instead of it being a push pin format, we can also have this as a heat map format as well. So you can see there those records become more on fire, for a better word, where there's more records being grouped together. And again, you can actually drill in, zoom in, and find those individual records where you see fit. And this is just an example of contacts, organizations, and applications. Potentially if you have additional records like payments, where your applicants are, and etc., those can be added on as different layers here, which allows you to graphically show your data, okay, as long as linked to the account and the contact. Okay, so that's the map functionality that we offer as well, as a very good reporting tool. The last thing I do want to show is some dashboards. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, Dynamics 365 basically the CDS, which is the common data service that the Dynamics 365 sits on, is also connected to a lot of, can be connected to by a lot of tools such as, you know, Power BI. Okay, so Power BI, we have a separate session on Power BI, by the way, but Power BI is a very, very rich and a very graphical representation and reporting tool. Okay, so this dashboard here that I've mocked up basically shows you a list of a dashboard of your payments to date, where my applications are in terms of like a funnel or like a broken down by its stages. Okay, and then those objectives that we've set and assigned to our applicants, have they been met or have they not been met? Okay, and those are by, you know, objective 1, objective 2, objective 3, and then here's a list of the different records that make up the information. So if I go and select, for example, this is showing all applications, but if I pick, you know, coronavirus job retention scheme, okay, as my funding program, you can see that on the right hand side, the information dynamically changes, so it's relevant to coronavirus job retention scheme only. And you can see here that payments have been made and we've paid out at a high level 1 million. It's actually 1.3, but it gives you high level information. It can go right to the specific information if it needs to as well. So over here, then we have, you know, the different applications, as I mentioned, that make up, you know, the coronavirus job retention scheme. And then here's the conditions, and then here's all the different applications, the amount that they've requested and the amount that we've paid out, and whether they're eligible or not, and whether the objectives are completed. If they're completed, they show up like this. So it's all like very interactive and very visual. Okay, I'm just going to pick one last funding scheme here, which is the bounce back fund. And again, by selecting that, just give it a second, the information dynamically changes. So it's relevant to bounce back fund only. And again, you have that consistent reporting. You know, if these are your reporting needs, you know, payments by type, by stage, by objectives open, by close, if those are your reporting metrics, you know, that is built once, and then we can add these layers of filter, allow us to do certain things. And you can see there, you know, we can hover over and it gives you the number of applications that make up that number, etc., etc. All right, so that is basically Dynamics 365 and the grant management functionality within a unified solution. So thank you very much. Do you have any questions? Does anybody have any questions? Any specific questions at all?
If no one else does, I suppose like one of the questions, and I suppose the process that you've demonstrated there is probably, I suppose there's different levels of automation that we can process, you know, going through the application process, you know. So I suppose in your example, you were showing the stage, you know, moving from a draft stage to apply to something else, and that you're manually moving that. Mm-hmm. What's your experience of automating the progression of those stages?
Yeah, so we have for different customers and different needs, we have built in, you know, stages for managing their life cycle of not just grant application processes, but any sort of process. Really, you know, she has a starting point and an end point, and that is like a life cycle. So by understanding your business needs and by understanding the triggers, okay, the trigger point, whenever certain interactions happen, we have introduced automation to automatically update the stage. You know, for example, this application stage, if we ticked, let's say we tick the approve by button, then that would automatically move it to an approved stage. If we added a payment record, then we, and the payment amount is now equal to the funding amount, the funding grant amount, 50K. Based on those conditions, we could automate that application to become completed. Okay, so in a way, I deliberately didn't want to put that in the demo, because I wanted to, in a good way, want to talk about how different organizations will have different levels of automation needs. Okay, does that answer your question, Brian?
It does, yeah. Another question from Ian. Ian Purdy, you got one?
Hello, Ian.
Yeah, it was related to your question. Hi, G. It was related to your question, Brian. So I'm interested to know how much of the automation would then be done in the application itself, and how much of that would typically be done using a Power Automate, then reaching in through connectors to Dynamics. What's the sort of typical way of doing that? Does that make sense?
Yeah. And look, I suppose the irony of this session is called Dynamics 365 for grant management. Look, I suppose again, stripping this back, grant management isn't the first party application. This is a third party application that we have, or that can be configured on top of the Power Platform, that can work alongside the other first party application. I think from the automation perspective, look, from back in the old Dynamics CRM on-premise days, you would have been talking about internal workflow as opposed to Power Automate, and that still does have its benefits. You know what I mean, in terms of it being contained within Dynamics 365 and moving something on quickly. But I suppose you're right. From the Power Automate perspective, which is, I suppose, from a technology standpoint, comes from outside the old school Dynamics sort of workspace. I think the benefit is that you do have the ability to hook this into other into other sort of third-party systems. So I suppose we've done both. Our bread and butter would have traditionally been using the internal Dynamics workflow, but look, Power Automate's a no-brainer now in terms of certainly hooking into other systems. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thanks, Brian.
Okay.
Maria has a question.
Hi, Jay. Yes, just in relation to the application on the portal side of things, is there the functionality for the applicant to scan and attach evidence that organisations would maybe need to hold on file for audit purposes?
So in terms of if they were to scan a document, like if they were scanning documents and they were saved or on their desktop, there's the ability for them to upload additional attachments onto the portal application, and there's and then that obviously once they hit save or submit, that would come through onto the application record as a note, and that would be accessible through there. So it would be, and that's a very common way. We get asked that actually very commonly, especially around let's say the objectives side, where if we're talking about reducing overheads or whatever. If a specific objective was to increase your sales numbers by X amount, they might have to provide evidence of that. So an example of that would be uploading, some kind of annual report, and that would be done through there. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. It does. Cheers.
Thank you, Maria. Any other questions?
And look, I suppose it's worth noting licensing for this sort of normally comes up. Look, traditionally, Dynamics 365 as a subscription service, retail pricing, you're probably talking, well, depending on what sector, you're probably talking 60 or 70 pounds per user per license. I suppose that everything that we've showed you today, I suppose, is built while it can work alongside the Dynamics 365 first-party applications. Everything that we've shown you today can be configured using what is called a Power Apps per app license. So that Power Apps per app license is less. It's £10 or less basically per user. and that's how I suppose that's one of the big benefits of this being stripped back to a platform where you don't have to buy a sales license anymore to implement grant applications. You just you buy the licenses that you need for each user persona, and you go with your base £10 per app.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other questions?
Maybe can I ask a question to the audience? Is there anyone here that maybe uses Dynamics currently? Is there any Dynamics customers on this call?
Hi, AJ. Yes, we use it. So do.
All right. Okay. Very good. Very good. And are you currently using Dynamics 365, or is it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, Dynamics 365. Yeah, for clients.
Yeah.
Very good.
So we know Maria. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Hi,
look.
Hi, sorry, Brian. David Robinson here from Queen's University in Belfast. We are using Dynamics as well. We're currently using CRM 2013 on-prem, but right in splat bang in the middle and due for release very soon to Dynamics 365. So we're working on that project as we speak.
Yeah, and look, I suppose that there's a fair difference in Dynamics 2013 and Dynamics 365. You know, it's hard to keep up sometimes, but it is, you know, some of the new features and some of the functionality does involve a bit of a mind shift as well. Look, and I suppose I know some people on the call as well. Presumably, you have a bit of a background in what I would call ADX Studio portals. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, I suppose I've a quick slide here to show you, you know, in terms of, look, if ADX Studio is the old on-premise version of portals for all intents and purposes, you know, these are now called Power Apps portals. Don't believe the marketing terms to a certain extent. Power Apps portals are exactly the same as what Microsoft CRM portals are. They're a different. They've basically been rebranded, but in effect they're the SaaS version of what ADX Studio is. And you know, 3 years ago, I would have said stick with ADX Studio portals because you get a lot more control over it. It's Power Apps portals are coming to a level of maturity now, and a level of where people have proven that they can do certain things with it, and Microsoft are throwing a lot at the portals. So I suppose the grant management demo today was based on Power Apps portals, but there's maybe a few different techniques in terms of configuration for these. So these are some of the benefits of it, I suppose. But I suppose this is the history of it, which is ADX Studio. It wasn't, so it's almost 4 years, I suppose, since ADX has been bought by Microsoft, and they have, I suppose, it's getting the attention it deserves now, you know, and the sorts of scenarios that you mentioned, Maria, in terms of, you know, handling documents, or, you know, uploading evidence and doing all that sort of stuff. That's all baked in. It also does have SharePoint integration baked in, whereas, you know, it to be honest, it used to be painful working with SharePoint on premise, you know, with external portals and all the different authentication mechanisms that you had to do. Now it just works. So I suppose that's some of the benefits of the cloud platform as opposed to some of the older on-premise functionality. Okay, any other questions? If not, I'll wrap it up there. Look, thank you very much. Thank you very much for taking the time out. It's been a cozy session. If you do have any questions in the meantime, look, we'll follow up with an email. And if you have any questions or if you want any further demos, by all means give us a shout. But Thank you very much for your time today.